Hey guys, welcome back. So now getting back into the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. So where at this point, T'Challa has returned to Earth and so has the Killmonger symbiote. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're just lost from that, I got a link below. Just start from the beginning of the playlist because we've been talking about this since day one of Marvel Legacy. So at this point here, you'll definitely need a bit of that background to not only get where things are at, but also understand and appreciate the connections that are coming now. So if you're new here, hit that link below. It'll get you caught up and send you right back here. But as for everyone else who's been watching and is all caught up and has been engaging in the discussions, we're just gonna dive into it. So with that being said, if you've completed your time loop and you still haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now, because at this point you done jumped through the playlist wormhole and caught up. But after that, don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so at this point in time, we are now getting into the beginning of Wakanda Unbound, which essentially begins with your stowaway Killmonger symbiote and his plans, which we're beginning to see unfold now that he's returned to Earth by way of being a stowaway on T'Challa's ship. And so now one of the things to keep in mind with this is that this symbiote, this Killmonger symbiote, not only has the consciousness of Killmonger within it, but also a portion of Bast's power, which is something we talked about prior to this point, with Bast considering it to be an abomination, with Killmonger performing this loophole in order to achieve godlike power. But after seemingly being destroyed and attaching his symbiote onto the ship, Killmonger made his way to Earth with T'Challa, hijacked the body of one of the guards on Wakanda Prime, and not long after made his way to find Shangamar, who previously was handpicked by T'Challa's father to be the tutor of his royal court, but eventually with him having a difference in opinion with Wakanda's monarch society, which at times he would share with some of his pupils, this eventually got him exiled from the Golden City. But as a result in his differences of belief of Wakanda being governed by one king, he also shared these thoughts with one of his students, one of whom was Tetu, who was more so set on this journey of finding a way to build a better Wakanda, which was one of the things that led Tetu into the wilderness, and when he came back, he had the ability to manipulate the land. But as for Tetu, it wasn't until he aligned himself with Zenzi, who's a Nagandan woman who has the ability to use people's emotions and sway their deepest emotions in order to make them act. And so now with Tetu, she used her abilities to assemble a rebellion against Wakanda, which was known as the People, who at the time were one of the closest at becoming successful at overthrowing Wakanda from within. But as it played out back in Black Panther Volume 6, this is something that just didn't work out, though they were nearly successful. But after that, Shangamar, who I almost want to call Shangamar the god, like I don't know why, but Shangamar, when he had seen the actions of Tetu, which were violent and harsh, he then declined Tetu's offer to join Tetu and Zenzi, and after seeing all their violence, he later on returned back to Wakanda. But so now fast forward to now, the Killmonger symbiote then tracks down Shangamar and then jumps from his former host to him, and Killmonger's doing this with the intention of using Shangamar in order to influence Tetu and Zenzi, but this time in order to follow Killmonger and fulfill his future objectives, but now with the help of two of Wakanda's most effective enemies, with the exception of his old self, but using Shangamar as a tool in order to rally these powerful allies to its side. And so now while this is going on, among T'Challa's recent return, there's quite a few things that he has going on himself, to say the least, with his memories now restored and him and Storm back together, and not even so much with the title or with the plans of getting married again, but really like we talked about in the last video, they just come to this agreement to where they want to just move forward together and figure out what exactly this is, because T'Challa, like with the things that he's learned in the Intergalactic Empire, like he's changed since he's come back, because while he was out there he had seen a lot of things, but now that he's back he wants to be with Storm, Storm wants to be with him, and in the middle of this chaos they're gonna take their time and just figure it out. And plus there's this whole issue in the background of him seeing Nakia while he was out there, but of course you know he telling Storm like my memory is wiped, you can't blame me for that. But we'll see. But at this point T'Challa then heads to Jalia to have a meeting with Shuri and his mother Nyami, who has come to the conclusion of the solution to restore the memories of all the nameless. And in a nutshell, like this solution is all but simple, because in order to do this, she tells T'Challa that they have to destroy Jalia, which essentially is the plane of Wakandan memory, and if done so, theoretically this would also destroy her. But she tells him in order to secure Wakanda's future, which is the nameless, which is essentially the people, that this is something that must be done. And of course for T'Challa, for him hearing this, like this isn't what he wanted to do, and it essentially goes against everything that he believes he should fight and stand for. But it's also here where she tells him like this is the way that it's been, because with doing this in order that the people can live and thrive, she very much compares this act to what the originators did thousands of years ago when Wakanda was first born. And now to secure the future of Wakanda's people, a similar and seemingly seemingly harsh act must be done. And so now from here, it gets crazier, because back in the Golden City, you have these doors that are opening up from the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, who have came to Earth to attack Wakanda Prime. And at this point in T'Challa's absence, Wakanda Prime is being led by Ramonda, T'Challa's other mother, the most recent wife of his father T'Chaka, but also with the military aid of M'Baku and Nakia, who had recently returned to Earth with T'Challa. But Wakanda Prime is getting murked, because essentially the firepower from the Intergalactic Empire, it's like they're technically from the future. So when Wakanda Prime takes down a couple ships, like in order for them to win this ambush, they have to repeat that same impossible task like 50 times over. And it's like either do that or get the help of an Omega level mutant who happens to be the girlfriend of the king, to whom they share a complicated relationship, and she's really looking to blow off some steam right now. And man, does she. Because as soon as Storm takes the skies, like these guys are done for in a matter of seconds. And it's like on one hand, you know she's doing this because she's pissed that these are the dudes who had her man in slavery. But also, if you guys remember, like T'Challa kind of caught Storm up on things that had happened. So now at this point, she knows about Nakia. So for Nakia, who was in the middle of this fight, she's just watching Storm come through this god level destruction, and she just looking like, oh, that's the chick T'Challa told me not to worry about. And it's like at the same time, Storm knows that Nakia is watching. So like for Storm, it's like killing two birds with one stone. Well, I meant to say stone, but I'm gonna leave that in there. But essentially, this is Storm doing what she said she would do with helping out T'Challa with Wakanda, but also sending a message to Nakia at the same time. And it's like when this happens, no words have to be exchanged, but when Storm's done, she looks directly at Nakia and Nakia looks back at Storm. And it's crazy because everything that's understood doesn't need to be explained, or at least such as the saying goes. But in the case of Shangamar, who at this point is taken over by the Killmonger symbiote, who sees this happening from afar, we soon after find out that the Killmonger symbiote has been successful at gathering Tetu and Zenzu to join him at his cause. And when we see them here together and we finally find out that Killmonger was able to persuade them by way of Shangamar, which really didn't seem too far-fetched, because one of the things that they would have preferred, and especially Tetu, like one of the things that he would have preferred is that Shangamar had a bit of that bloodshed type of attitude in him. So I can imagine Tetu being like, you look a little different, but you saying what I want to hear. And to me, like that's the way that it just works. Like it just works out. And so now for Killmonger, after gathering the two of them at his side, and at this point in time also using a bit of Zenzu's abilities to enhance specific emotions and manipulate the will of these soldiers, rallying them to her side, much like she did for Tetu when they led their revolt. And though this is not like their major plan, because Killmonger essentially has an entire empire at his disposal that he still needs to gain access to, Zenzu's abilities are more so just helping them get to their first objective, which in this case lead them to Uganda, which is actually the location to where the Killmonger who died on Earth was buried. And they've arrived here in order to take his body so that Killmonger, who is now currently in the symbiote, will be able to remerge with this body and claim what is his once again. And so now at this time over in the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, to where the Maroon forces have been traveling back and forth, but also accompanied by Storm, at this point in time, like not long after the Thunder Show, Storm decides to have a little sit down chat with Nakia. And as for Storm, who knows that she has a history of being quite forward with what she wants to say, so it's like here when she attempts to have a small talk with Nakia, like for herself, it's like, okay, let me try out this thing called small talk and kind of ease her way into a conversation with her. But for Storm, who's trying to do small talk, it doesn't really work or come out that way, because one of the first things she gets into is just like, okay, so I heard we're in love with the same person. And it's like Storm just gets straight to it. Like she tells Nakia T'Challa told her everything, and initially Nakia is speechless, but then she lets Storm know that everything between Nakia and T'Challa is now over. But Storm tells her that she's not so sure about that. And although Nakia tries to assure Storm that her and T'Challa didn't want to jeopardize the outcome of this war over a fling, and Storm lets her know that that's good to hear, because at this current time there's a lot more going on than just this war. And much of what Storm is talking about leans into what we've been going over with House of X, Powers of 10, Dawn of X, but she gives Nakia this example to let her know that she's a woman of more than one nation, and because of everything that's happening right now with the mutants, she won't be able to be around to help Wakanda as much as she would like to. And this is the reason why she came to sit down with Nakia after all, because Storm has done her research on Nakia and her accomplishments with the Empire and with the Maroons, and with one of Storm's main concerns being T'Challa's happiness and sound mind through all of this, she also knows that Nakia is one of the few people who can be there for T'Challa and pull him through in Storm's absence. And so Nakia's like, oh, so you're saying that you believe that I can make him happier? And Storm's like, nope, that's not what I said. And Storm tells her that there is no woman that can give T'Challa what she can. So pump your brakes, give T'Challa a few words of encouragement, and then after that just keep it pushing. Because if you don't, at this point, I think you're well aware of what I'm capable of. And I mean, she didn't end it like telling her like, you know what I'm capable of, but it was definitely implied, referring to the Thunder show that Storm put on not long earlier. But not long after this, when they check back in with T'Challa and the others at Wakanda Prime in order to give their briefing, which is mainly about the recent attack, which also leads them to believe that someone within or around the Maroons is leaking information to the Empire. And initially the suspicion goes to Achebe, who of course was at the right hand of Killmonger, who had switched sides not long before what seemed to be Killmonger's death. But with him being injured after saving Nakia and currently in a coma, it's unlikely that he's been leaking information to anyone, which in this case only leaves one person, which is whom exactly Storm suggests that T'Challa pays a visit to, and that one person being the daughter of Killmonger, to whom currently is an avatar for what's left of Bast. And after hearing this, T'Challa immediately goes to confront her and express his suspicion. And when he goes to find her, he finds her at the house of Shangamire, which of course has been ransacked and abandoned. But when he finds her here, he kind of provokes her with the idea of, okay, since you're a god and you supposedly have all this power, like what significance does this location have to you? And with Shangamire just being a man and just being human, like what is here that could be significant to you? And these insinuations and accusations don't take long to get on Bast's angry side. So when she scoffs at him like, do you doubt me? He's like, yeah, I do. And I don't blame him, because it's here that he tells her like, well, when we killed Killmonger, your powers were supposed to be fully restored, but after he was destroyed, nothing happened. And here you are essentially in the same position that we were in when Killmonger was alive. So T'Challa's like, pretty much help me out, like what does this mean? And it's here where she lets them know that his spirit has traveled with the symbiote and he's here on Earth, which is essentially what drew her to Shangamire's house, with her following the portion of her power that is still with Killmonger, to whom at this point in time has long left the home of Shangamire, taking the body of Killmonger from the Wakanda and made his way to Serpent Valley in order to repossess the body of his previous incarnation. But when we skip forward to Killmonger to catch up with him here in Serpent Valley to perform this ritual, it's here that we find out T'Challa, Okoye, and the others, they use the information they gained from Bast in order to disguise themselves as the Noble Guardians to ambush Killmonger and stop this ceremony. But when they arrive here and they make their attempt to stop Killmonger from going through with this transferal resurrection, like I don't really know what to call it, but essentially transferring his future consciousness into his past body. But when T'Challa and the others come here to stop him from going through with it, it's here that they find out that the answer to their whole question of who was the mole and who was helping the Empire, that it has been Killmonger this whole time. And though he doesn't directly tell them, they discover this when Zenzu tells T'Challa that he's not the only person with access to the Master Gate. And when this happens, immediately like a flood of soldiers from the Empire come through to Earth in order to help the Emperor. And wait a minute, all this sounds pretty familiar all of a sudden. And I'm gonna keep that to myself because I don't want to give spoilers for something else at the moment. But I'm sure plenty of people gonna say it in the comments, so you've been warned. But here, and sticking to the topic, but like when the Emperor's forces come in, their purpose really is just to hold back and distract T'Challa while Emperor Killmonger continues to go through with the ceremony. And they come through with a lot of firepower, so it's sufficient enough to hold them off, so that now at this point in time, T'Challa and the others are fighting off like 50 Imperial guards rather than focusing on Killmonger and making sure that he doesn't get back his old body. Which, as you may have guessed, the distraction had worked well enough in order to help Killmonger pull this off. Because while T'Challa, and even with all the help he can get on such short notice, they're tied up fighting this invasion, Killmonger has the time to complete the ceremony and reclaim his body here on Earth, allowing him to live once again, making himself once again the avatar of the god power that he had stolen, and once again the living host of the symbiote that he had found just on the outskirts of the Intergalactic Empire. Which means Killmonger's back, he's alive, and possibly even more powerful, which definitely isn't a good thing, but I am glad to see it. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Once again, I want to give a special shout out to all the Patreons and let you guys know like every contribution is very much appreciated. And special shout out to Randy J and T Freezy, who have both upgraded to your superhero tier. And just want to tell you guys thanks again, and to everybody across the board, you are very much appreciated. And also a special shout out to Marquis, who sent them one-time gift that's like a Christmas donation, and I very much appreciate that, bro. hero. But for anybody who wants to join in and support the page, I got information down in the description for different options on how to do so. But that'll do it for this one. There's definitely a lot more we got to get into with the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, amongst many other series that we're covering right now. But in this one in particular, I'm anxious to get back to T'Challa destroying the ancestral plane, and with doing so, discovering what his ancestors have to say about it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.